So today we're going to make a classic lobster bisque using the Maine lobster that we broke down. We have a little bit of meat left over for garnish, but I'm going to use the shells, and this is the very beginning of the bisque. So let's take a look at our ingredients. We have all the lobster shells that we broke down a few minutes ago. We have our mirepoix, that this is going to be the base of the lobster bisque. We're going to get some great color, very similar to making a lobster stock, but we're going to reinforce it with lots of flavor. We're going to be adding tomato for color, we have brandy, and we have some white wine that we're going to deglaze in separate instances to develop a base flavor, kind of the acid flavor to match the lobster. And then we have a variety of aromatics from dried thyme to fresh thyme to tarragon, bay leaf, paprika, a little bit of turmeric for color, a little bit of chili flakes for heat, a little bit of cayenne for another layer of heat, black peppercorns, and that will be the base of the stock that we simmer for about 30 to 40 minutes. All right, so starting the bisque, I will add olive oil, butter, and our lobster shells. All right, I want to cook these until I get some color, then I'll add my mirepoix, very similar to making a stock. In the meantime, I'm also going to take a moment to make my rice. I'm going to overcook it. This will be a component at the very end of our bisque in about an hour. So I'm going to add chicken stock to a pot. Add my rice. Bring it to a boil. And then lower it to a simmer until my rice is overcooked. Then I'll take this off the heat, and that'll be a component to finishing the bisque. All right, we have a slight amount of color here. Let me add our mirepoix. And this is kind of the beginning of the bisque. Lots of flavor development and building here. We'll let this go until our carrot and our onion has a nice color. About another 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how much color we get here. All right, so our lobster shells have turned bright red, and if you notice in the beginning, we started with shells that have been cooked with a pour-over method, so they weren't completely bright red. I still have to cook them a little bit more and extract some flavor. I could use lobster shells from boiled lobster, which would already have a brighter color. It's just the concept of cooking in a pan with mirepoix and some fat like butter. I'm going to get some great color and develop the base flavor. All right, we're at the point where it looks great. We will do a deglaze off the brandy, then we'll add our white wine. All right, adding our white wine. We'll bring that to a boil. Add our chopped tomato, skin and seeds and all. All right, I just want to bring this to a boil, and then we will add our lobster stock. In the meantime, let's add some of the aromatics. We have black peppercorn. We have a touch of dried thyme. Fresh bay leaf or dry bay leaf will work. Paprika. A little fresh thyme, fresh tarragon, chili flakes for some heat, a little bit of turmeric for some color and flavor, and a pinch of cayenne. So, we started with the basic of the mirepoix and the shells. That would be a stock, but now we've incorporated a lot of other components known as aromatics to create flavor. Okay, great color. Aromatics are here. I've sauteed this for a while to kind of bloom the spices before I add my stock. Now I've added my fresh lobster stock. You can use fish stock or water if you have to. But once again, I'm just adding just enough stock to cover. And we will bring this to a simmer. And I'll simmer it on low heat for about 30 to 40 minutes to extract the flavor. That's the base of my bisque. All right, so the base of the bisque is simmered for about 30 minutes. We have great flavor, great color, and it smells excellent. I've taken the 4 cups of cream and warmed it up so we can move to the next step here. So adding the cream, I don't want to add the cream in the beginning because I don't want it to reduce too much. I want to add it on top of a very flavorful base of the bisque. So we'll bring this to a simmer, cook it for about 15 minutes. And this is just so that the cream itself can infuse with the flavor. And I'm going to reduce it slightly. A couple of other components that I want to be using is, this is some of the roe butter that we made out of the roe that we found in the lobsters, and it's green because it hasn't been cooked. And basically I used Cuisinart with soft butter and the roe from the lobsters that we took out when we were breaking them down, and pureed it till it's very smooth. And I put it in plastic wrap and wrap it and put it in the freezer for whenever I need it. So now I've just brought it up to room temperature, and this is kind of a finishing butter for my bisque. I'm also going to saute some of the lobster in this and garnish my bisque with the lobster. All right, so this bisque is looking great. It's had a little bit of time to simmer. You see that the color is great. And as you can see, there's not a lot of liquid compared to the lobster shells. We are trying to keep this really strong, really rich, extract as much flavor as we can from the lobster and the aromatics. All right, so what we want to do is strain this. And I want to kind of push and stir so that I extract all the liquid here. I'm choosing to strain straight through a chinois to get as much of the liquid out and removing all the shells. You know, in some bisque recipes, they will take these shells and they'll grind them and strain that so that you get more flavor. But I think the flavor is compromised a little bit by the texture. By the shells being ground, you get a chalky flavor. So yeah, some traditional recipes, Escoffier will talk about chopping this up, grinding it, straining it. I think you have to strain it more times than you need to, and then you're ending up with a little bit of a chalky texture. Okay, so before I thicken it, I'm going to give this a little bit of a taste, season a taste. Adding a small pinch of salt and a touch of lemon for a little bit of acid. And now I'm going to go ahead and thicken it with my rice. So this has been overcooked, and I'll thicken it and strain it again. Now I'm going to go ahead and, while my bisque is still simmering, whisk in my roe butter until it melts, and it gives us a better flavor and better color. And it's just kind of an enrichment I like to use, making use of the roe. So I'm just straining this out one more time. There are a little bit of rice kernels in here. I just want to make sure this is a perfectly smooth soup. I've used some of the rice starch to thicken instead of using a cornstarch thickener or a roux made with flour, or potato sometimes is used here. So I like to keep the flavor of the lobster, and rice is a neutral method for thickening. Okay, so see how that roe butter turns orange immediately? All right, this will be my garnish for my soup. So a little bit of lobster that's been cooked in the roe butter. A little bit of tarragon. And there you have it, our Maine Lobster Bisque. Enjoy.